Welcome to another segment of Pearced Off, the counter-apologetics philosophical segment for the Skepticule Podcast with me, Jonathan M.S. Pearce. In this episode, I want to bring into question something from one of our best friends, William Lane Craig. So in a recent video, he has declared as a get-out-of-jail-free card for free will and neuroscience, a soul brain state consciousness model for decision making. He was posed in a sort of vodcast whether neuroscience brings free will into doubt. It's an interesting short video to watch, but I will critique it because it's problematic for so many reasons. It's interesting because it looks like William Lane Craig at least accepts that consciousness is derived from brain states. So at least he's looking at the evidence. But since this then looks like epiphenomenalism, such that consciousness is like the steam boiling off the brain state kettle rather than driving the boiling, then there is no space for free will. As a result, he needs to take evasive action. And this is a key quote. So this is Craig saying, "It's no surprise at all that there would be a time delay between the decision of the soul, or mind, to do something and the consciousness in mental awareness of that state, because the consciousness of that state arises through brain states, and these take a finite velocity for the nerve signals to transmit. So, in fact, these experiments are exactly what a dualist interactionist would expect to happen, namely the soul would make a free decision, and then a split second later the brain state, which brings this decision to consciousness, would occur, and then after that the muscular contractions would take place, and the hand would move. So this doesn't do anything to eliminate the freedom of the will." So let's unpick that, because he seems to conflate, for a start, the soul with the mind. He says the soul or mind, but sees this as different to consciousness. There are two ways of seeing this, and this is both are problematic, but this is the first way he looks at it. The soul or mind causes brain states, which then cause consciousness. So this looks like a triality of things rather than a duality, a dualism. The first thing, the soul or mind, is different to consciousness. Well, that needs a hell of a lot of explaining. So the mind lives forever in heaven or hell, but it's not consciousness? Well, what the hell is it? Because my mind certainly seems, I equate my mind with consciousness. So what are the properties of a mind or soul which are not the properties of consciousness? What is the evidence for the soul? What are the causal factors which influence decisions of the soul? Because without influence or causality, the decisions of the soul will be synonymous with random. But as soon as you let causality in, you let determinism in. This is just pure nonsense, what he said. As I've said many times before, this is the soul of the gaps argument with no justification whatsoever. The soul or mind choosing to do something which changes the brain states, which then is reflected in consciousness. Totally unevidenced and makes no sense at all. The second way that he might mean from what he said is that the soul or mind causes brain states which cause consciousness, and somehow the soul or mind are the same as consciousness. So A causes B, which causes A. This would be your classic interactionism, and in fact, in some sense, that's what classic dualists think. The problem is there's an infinite regress issue here. So if A causes B, which causes A, then the first A is therefore surely caused by previous B. Or you could say A1 causes B, which causes A2. But why is A1 itself not caused by previous brain state? As I said, B minus 1. How can A2 and A1 be categorized differently here? So how can the soul or mind be somehow different to consciousness if they're being equated in some way? I don't know. This is equally incoherent. So William Lane Craig's account of libertarian free will is, well, I cannot believe that debaters haven't taken him to task over this model. After all, without it, the notion of a judgmental God falls completely to pieces. Also, if he's talking about a time delay between the decisions of the soul and the conscious awareness of them, due to the distance of nerve signals, the distance that they must travel, then where's a soul physically located such that this distance or this time lag exists? So, on whatever account Craig seems to have a free will, he fails. And if he fails on free will, his idea of God makes no sense. So I'm absolutely flabbergasted that William Lane Craig, who has been thinking about this kind of stuff for a long time, and I really must look into his accounts of free will that he has traditionally held, but certainly on this explanation of free will, that the soul causes brain states which causes consciousness, that the soul could choose freely. I mean, how's a soul choosing my decisions, and my consciousness is a different thing and isn't driving the decision-making process? Then how can I rationally and consciously own my decisions? Because one definition of free will, actually the definition that I hold to, which I don't believe exists, is the idea that you choose something rationally and consciously. So the soul is doing something that causes brain states that is reflected in consciousness, then it's not a conscious decision. The soul is doing it. Well, then what the hell? What is going? I mean, I don't know. The mind boggles. It's a really bizarre model that he has. So I'm just wondering what the peeps back at the office think about this. But the 100th episode. Let's, for goodness sake, get back to it. Your damn interesting ideas of free will and determinism and neuroscience and the brain and the soul and consciousness, because let's face it, that stuff is cool. It floats my boat. But you probably talked about it a lot before, but let's resurrect that idea again. Anyway, William Lane Craig, meh. Congratulations on the 100th episode, and there you go. As ever, question everything. Drop by my blog. I'm a tippling philosopher, Jonathan M.S. Pearce.